Hey guys, what is good? I hope you're all doing absolutely amazing and are trading safely in the markets. It's your boy VGOK and I'm back with another video again for you guys. Now this video is going to be like the 2 videos ago. It's a market outlook video. Kind of be expecting these sort of videos weekly. So yeah, it'll be another market outlook video. I'm going to be going through the news events of the following week and having a look at any pairs to see if there's any nice key zones, such as supply and demand zones, points of interest, any key imbalance areas as well. And also, like I said before, if you want early access to these sorts of calls along with live trading calls, then please do drop me a DM on my Instagram with the word mentorship, and I'll be able to get back to you and see what the best way is to help you out. And also a final note on this, just a quick apology for the quality of the video. I think my settings on my recording device was not great, yeah, apologies for that, but the next video will be back in full quality like usual. But without all being said, let's jump straight into the market outlook. Okay, so I'm going to be starting off looking at US dollar JPY. Like I've said before, it's one of my favorite pairs to look at and to trade. And again, from last week, from Friday really, Friday or Thursday Asian session, Friday early morning, we saw this 1 hour supply that looks really nice, really good. We can see it's a nice base drop scenario. That takes out this previous area of demand. You can see that this demand was valid with very strong rejection from this zone. Big engulfing candle, price was definitely moving higher in this area. So there was definitely a strong demand, and then this is that sort of supply zone that takes that out. So whether you want to look at this as sort of a last buy before sell candle or a base drop supply zone, pretty similar sort of thing right there. And I think if you look at the 4 hour time frame on this, arguably you could say you're looking at this area as well, because there's a slight imbalance left open just in there. And when you look at it on the smaller time frame, you can start to see there was a buy to sell region in there, imbalance still open, so there is a chance it may go higher for a deeper retracement and then it will look to come down. And yeah, we've also seen the creation of this liquidity down at the bottom here. So we've got these equal lows, if I go down to the 30-minute and stuff, you'll see why I'm saying the equal lows with this. So the bottom of this candle with the wick here, and the low that it made down in here before we saw this rally to the upside. So nice set of equal lows down in there for UJ, so a nice area to look to target. And in terms of demand zones and stuff, which I'm looking at, these are the ones I marked up at the start of last week, and we still didn't make it down to them. From the start of last week, we just saw constant bullishness, and then it was just sort of trading within that sort of movement. So yeah, these are still valid, they're still open in my eyes. We can see what happens. The alerts are still set there, so let's obviously when price gets to there, we'll react accordingly. See if we can get those lower time frame confirmations in those zones to play those next sort of waves to the upside. But at the moment, I'd definitely be looking to favor the sells, especially from this movement down. We can see that the structure had definitely sort of been broken. Over here would be the next structural point, I'd say. So the significant structure point that was broken, you've got this a low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. In this movement down, it was broken, and then when you go into the lower time frame, like on the hourly, we can see in more detail of how this is all built up. So this is a potential supply zone where we can look to react off of, and potentially slightly a bit higher up, which I'm just going to draw a zone on for right now. So just having a look within here as well. And then as we go into the lower time frames, there is going to be some other sort of zones that I'm going to be looking at as well, just to see. Obviously it's going to be early, obviously price is very close to this zone right now, so obviously it depends what happens on market open, whether market's going to gap above this area, if it's going to gap into the area and then reject, or come below, whether we'll see what happens obviously tonight when market opens. Yeah, the 5-minute time frame, this looked pretty good. We had a nice base drop or drop redistribution of price in this area here, and then it drops off further. Price already tried to come up very close to it, didn't quite make it that far. And as you guys can see, we may get a sort of a small liquidity capture above this high. Any liquidity sitting above here you know, I think it looks pretty good, open to be swept, and then, you know, getting into this zone, and then a rejection to the downside afterwards, hopefully. So yeah, let's see what happens with that on UJ. But yeah, after that, pretty much everything else looks pretty good. Of course, over here it does look like a big break of structure to the upside, so we are going to label on the potential demand zone from here. But I do know that there is a area of liquidity underneath, so it might just go through this zone and for the liquidity. And the zone that I've based this off is the start of this bearishness before it really goes bullish, and then we can see a nice rally, base rally, which takes out this significant structure point in here as well. So obviously in terms of the bullish side of things, you know, we're looking around in here, and potentially if it dips below but still obeys, you know, this major zone. So I'd call the major zone this. The refined zone would be in between these two blue lines, and let's see, you know, if we can get the respect in that area as well. And obviously we've got this alert set here, so we'll know when it gets close. So yeah, moving on to I think before we head on to EURUSD, let's take a quick look at DXY. And let's go on to the hourly time frame. So hourly time frame, there was this gap in price for DXY, and we can see that price came down on that Friday, and it started to come back up a little bit on that Friday as well. Obviously on here we can see there was a slight manipulation of this low here. You can see that this goes slightly below sort of this this wick. So it goes slightly below, and then it sort of shows us that reversal. So maybe there is an argument for a bullish sort of bias from this point here. So let's put that in as well. And I think from these zones we can expect, you know, bullish movements for the dollar from there, and sort of bearish movements from the dollar in this area as well. I think I prefer the sells, you know, it's going with the trend, so it makes a bit more sense. But we did sort of just recently get this manipulation of this low. So again, let's see, you know, what sort of reactions we get for DXY in this area. So if we get a bullish dollar, obviously we're looking for a bearish EURUSD, bearish GU, obviously bullish UJ, and obviously if it's coming down from this area, then vice versa, we're looking for opposites sort of bias then. But yeah, moving on to EU, what we can actually see starting from the daily time frame. So yeah, what we can see right here, so there is a zone I've marked out here. I believe it's from the hourly time frame. Yeah, so the hourly time frame, what we can see in here is we have this nice drop, base drop scenario here. It takes out this previous demand. Now this demand was significant because it goes ahead to break structure in this point. It creates a low, high, higher, low, higher, high. So the starting of an uptrend. Obviously, as we can see, it changed into that redistribution style of movement. So, you know, that drop, base drop or sort of movement. But then here we can see this drop, base drop is the one that took this major demand out. You know, we had equal lows at that point as well. We had all of these points in here which were taken out by that drop, base drop as well. So that's why I'm thinking this is going to be pretty significant. And as we can see, as price approached that region, you know, we started to get really good rejection from this area. Why won't it fill the imbalance above? Okay, so which imbalance are you talking about on EU? I'm assuming this imbalance here. Yeah, so of course that is a possibility, it may do that, but just because you know, there is an imbalance above doesn't mean, you know, we're going to be getting you know, it doesn't mean we're not going to see any reaction from this this point of interest here as well. Now what could happen in this sort of scenario is, obviously I've got this demand zone marked out here, there's a demand zone marked out here as well. So maybe if we're getting such a strong reaction from this this first supply zone which I've just identified, if we get some sort of move, if it comes back up for retracements, comes down into this demand zone, and then if we start to see it start moving up again, then it might go back up again and, you know, start to fill in these further imbalances up in here. So if it comes up into these areas and then we start to see the bearish move, that's still fine. But again, you know, you could also treat that as a point of interest. Yeah, so also keep that as a point of interest. You know, it's not, I'm not saying it's invalid and stuff, but let's sort of you know, play the zones as and when sort of they come about, basically, as and when price approaches them, I should say. So yeah, that is another good zone of interest as well. You know, buy before sell region, a big imbalance fill in there as well. So let's see what happens. But yeah, at the moment, because we've got the reaction already from this zone, I want to see, obviously, you know, and obviously it has broken structure, so to me this zone is definitely valid. And I feel on the 3-minute time frame, I think it was, yeah, there was a really nice point of interest in there which I was looking for sells in. You know, in that area, as soon as it tapped into this zone, you know, we had this liquidity build up above this trend line, and we had a nice buy to sell candle on the 3-minute time frame right in there. And it hasn't been mitigated at all just at the moment. Obviously there are these lower supply zones which it may react off of, and this low one which it did react off, and sort of it gave some sort of movement down. Obviously not a very definitive one, it was just sort of a, you know, it creating a range. But in my personal opinion, I think that these there's a wick rejection here, also another rejection area here. So I feel like there's an area of liquidity sitting in this area here. So I think if price can make its way back up into here, take liquidity out, get back up into this this 3-minute candle, that would be great. That would be really nice to see. So let's see what happens if price can actually get into this area and then drop. Of course we're very far away from it right now, but you know, it's still confirmed, it's still a valid trade idea, trade opportunity as well. So yeah, let's see how that goes for the sells for Euro-USD. And in terms of the buy side, so the bullish side of things, this demand zone looks pretty nice on the 1 hour time frame. I'm just going to check it on the 4 hour. I believe it might be something a bit nicer. So on the 4 hour down here, we've got this one. It looks pretty nice, I think. You know, we've got that sell to buy candle in this area right here. You know, imbalance fill, you know, and there's could be liquidity sitting just below this wick, so liquidity capture below this wick, it filling in this imbalance, trading into this sort of order block looking candle right in here. There is a smaller one down in here, but I'm just going to disregard it for now because it's so far away, and we can sort of generalize the whole zone in the 4 hour zone. I think that'll be a lot easier to do. So we'll call this the next sort of demand zone lower. And we did get this rejection here, so there's this sell to buy candle in here. Obviously on the 4 hour, it looks like a big candle with a massive wick in this area as well. So let's have a look at what it looks like on the hourly. On the hourly, we've got this rally, base rally, and like you said earlier, Joshua, you know, that it could definitely look to fill in this area right in here, you know, the imbalance, you know, below this rally base rally zone. So but of course, let's see the reaction if we do get a reaction. If not, you know, it might just look to trade through this zone, get into this imbalance, and then go off, and that's totally fine as well. You know, there's nothing wrong with having multiple, you know, supply and demand zones, as long as you play the correct confirmations once price is in the area. If you get confirmation at this one, then play. If you get confirmation in this one, then you play. It's just about reacting to what the market gives you, basically. Instead of just impulsively going for these sort of random points of interest. So yeah, that's with Euro-USD. I think that's pretty good on Euro-USD. Not looking at much else on there. GU, I was looking at this earlier on. It looks pretty interesting. So let's start off on the 4 hour, and we'll take this kill zone off for now, and we'll put it back on in a sec. So yeah, why not? Let's start on the daily. So yeah, daily time frame. What we can see that happened on the Friday last week. Big strong bullish candle taking out the whole range of the previous day's candle, the previous high, the previous day's high. But we did see it react into this supply zone here, which I feel like it's on a lower time frame. Yeah, 4 hour time frame. So we've got these 3 consecutive bullish candles in here before the main drop off. You could look at it in the sense of a drop, rear distribution, drop, base, drop as well on the 4 hour, and as prices come back into it, we've started to get, you know, a good number of rejections from it, you know, a good engulfing candle over here as well. So, you know, there's definitely power in the supply zone if it's causing this much of a drop at the moment. As we go to the 1 hour, we can see the rejection in a little bit more detail, and we can also see how this sort of supply zone is actually made up. Now, looking at this a bit more closely on the hourly time frame, we can actually do a bit more of a deeper analysis, I think. So just looking at this area here, the first area I'm looking at, sort of not looking at, but just sort of reanalyzing, I should say. We've got this supply zone in here. This looks really nice, obviously at this point here. Yeah, in this area here, and we had this drop, this doji candle in here with the long upwards wick as the base, and then it drops off again, taking out all of this, you know, previous demand. You know, this is previous demand causing price to go higher, creating higher highs, higher lows, all that sort of stuff. And this is that drop, base drop, that takes it out. we then get price coming into this area and respecting it successfully. So you know, that's the proof that this is valid zones, which is why I was looking, you know, within this zone, you know, for a rejection. And of course the imbalance fill in this zone is right here at this blue line. So let's see obviously how price looks, you know, closer to the zone. Obviously we've had one rejection already from here, but we haven't actually seen price close in the zone. Obviously on a 3 minute, 5 minute, something like that, small time frame, you may see candlesticks closing in the zone, but because we're on such a smaller time frame. Now personally I feel, you know, we've got wick rejections here, a very close wick rejection here. I think there's going to be a build up of liquidity in this region, and you know, I won't be surprised if we see price actually look to continue going up into this area, fill the imbalance, and then we get the full movement. And you know, if by that point we can get good confirmations on lower time frame, you know, for those distribution style of entries, then you know, we'll look to get in for those sell entries around there to trade it to the downside like that. Yeah, I won't be too surprised if that happens. That'd be really nice. So still waiting on a proper confirmation for this supply zone in here. But yeah, let's see what happens. Let's go into the lower time frame again. So let's check the 30-minute out. Let's check the 30-minute. Yeah, 30-minute looks really nice as well, even in here. As you can see, as we go to the lower time frames, we start to see, you know, a lot of the same thing, which what I've analyzed in this area. You know, that base drop which we saw, I believe, on the hourly, which was this zone here. We're starting to see the same thing on the 30-minute, but in this zone here. You know, we've got this previous demand causing low, high, high, low, high, 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 low, high, high. This small uptrend in here. Obviously, demand is in power in this time, and then we start to see obviously the base drop that takes it out. Well, that takes out this first one anyway. You know, and that was definitely a significant one because this went on to create a higher high. So this imbalance fill, this 30-minute base drop, however you want to really look at it, it looks like a really nice area to sort of wait for price to come into. So definitely let's I'm going to mark this 30-minute zone on as well, and of course we'll extend it out to where current price is, so we know exactly where it is. I'm going to shorten this zone here, and then I'm going to put a label on this one so we know exactly what zone that is. So 30-minute base drop supply zone, like so. And of course once we get price going back up into there, we'll have a better idea and see how price reacts. And obviously on the other side of things, so the bullish side of things, let's have a quick look. There is a smaller time frame zone in here which we'll go over once we go down the time frames. I believe it was a 4-hour zone, which was this bottom one I was looking at, so with this nice sell to buy candle in there. And as you guys can see, price coming into this region, you know, it would be a good discounted price region. So you know, looking at the whole entire impulse, as so you know, it's around the 61.8. The deeper areas of the zone would be 71% retracement. Of course, if we're measuring it from here, it'd be a slightly nicer retracement. You know, we're looking at exactly that key area. I like to look at that 71 to 78% retracement for, you know, it's just another confirmation that this demand zone could be the one that's going to be the most valid. So let's see exactly what happens with that. So 4-hour time zone for this sell to buy point of interest in there. And as we look a bit lower down the time frames, as we can see in here, we've got this rally, these two smaller candles here acting as the base, and then the rally up that takes out this previous supply point. You know, this supply point was valid, it creates a lower low. You know, a lot of selling power in this movement here, so the supply was definitely in power there, and this is the demand zone that takes that out. And as we can see, the reaction into this zone, really good bullish movement up. So I just want to monitor this once more on the lower time frames to see if, you know, there's some sort of trade opportunity for the buys in there. So let's go down to the 15-minute. 15-minute, as we can see, this sell to buy candle in here, it's been mitigated in here, and it's started to see those upwards moves in there. It is slowing down in that upwards move. So let's see, smaller time frame, there might be something else it wants to go for. And yeah, I think this 5-minute area down in here, so this sell to buy candle in here, great reaction from the previous demand zone in here, which we identified, I think it was the 30-minute. Imbalance left nicely in here. So I think, yeah, I won't be surprised if price can get into this area. This alert is set obviously here, so let's see. Obviously we'll know when price gets closer to this area and potential buys off of this candlestick. But of course, it's all about timing as well. You don't want to be say if price gaps down and, you know, by market open it gets into this area here, it's not the best time to be entering. Obviously, you know, the best time that I'd prefer to be looking to enter is going to be around New York Open. So yeah, ideally New York Open, we want to be looking to see the accumulation starting to form in this region here. So that'll be good. And I'm just going to get this chat box. 4 hour buy to sell at 1.18. Let's just quickly check that. 1.18. Yeah, of course, yeah, there's this zone right here. And of course we're going to be dealing with that, you know, as and when price, if price obviously takes out this this whole supply zone which we've identified. And of course it does look like in a slight uptrend, so if it does come into here and then go higher, then of course we'll look at this 4 hour buy to sell candle. I do have these previous supply zones in here which I want to have a look at as well, but of course by that point we'll know when it's up there and we'll reanalyze, and, you know, we'll go through things accordingly. Moving on to EJ. Just looking at it from the daily, from the previous analysis we had. So a couple of different things to talk about here. Obviously we have these equal highs in here, and price got up to the equal highs. It was either going to go past them, break structure above and continue higher, or it was going to do obviously what it's done. It's not closed higher than these highs. Instead it's just prices manipulated the highs, you know, is spiked above and then aggressive drop down. So one scenario is going to be obviously, you know, buy to sell of these equal highs, and then we look to sell it down, you know, as a reversal style trade. The other sort of way to look at it is it's going to be continuations. So what once will look like a distribution, it could easily change into a reaccumulation. So the first zone that I saw in this region, obviously this supply zone right in here, you know, caused price to go down in here, you know, lower highs and lower lows, and as prices reached this area once more, the key demand zone in my eyes would be this one over here, the one that took that previous supply zone out. You know, I'd be looking somewhere within here. I'm going to include this all just in case. But yeah, all of this as the next major demand zone. That makes a lot of sense. So we'll see exactly what price does just around this zone. So yeah, let's see what price does in that zone, and let's carry on to the lower time frames. Of course it's already reacting within this. This wasn't exactly a confident zone that I drew out. You know, I wasn't confident in it, but I just wanted to see, because it did look like a good base rally sort of scenario here. It wasn't really based on anything in terms of taking out previous supply, so that's why I didn't really look at it too much. But then it did go pretty deep into the zone. It's starting to show signs of bullishness, but again it's slowing down back as it reapproaches this supply zone over here. So let's have another look. The 5 minute time frame here, you know, is a lot more easier to see the supply side of things. You know, demand in this area causing price to go higher, and we've got that drop region in there taking price out, and as you can see, you know, strong rejections all the time. So let's see, obviously, you know, whether we can get good, you know, some sort of a sell. Obviously depends where price opens for market open as well. But yeah, in terms of sells, you know, on the 5 minute and the 3 minute and the 1 minute, there's still a couple candles to open. You know, there's this one open still, but me personally, nothing looks, you know, great at the moment in terms of selling off of any of this price action. So yeah, I'll definitely wait probably for the buy zone in here, and then we'll have to wait and see obviously how price reacts in these zones. So yeah, definitely worth having another alert just in here as well for Eurujpy. Yeah, moving on to GJ. GJ had some interesting moves on the Friday, you know, very interesting indeed. Cool. Yeah, liquidity build up on the daily time frame, equal highs, you know, touching there, and obviously where it's just met. So yeah, good degree of equal highs, good degree of liquidity. I think it can definitely look to accumulate to take those out. So that could be the, you know, the scenario for this week. Going down the time frame, 4 hour time frame. You know, I was in two schools of thought whether, you know, this was liquidity creation or whether it was just it didn't quite get there over here. You know, I don't think it really touched that line. It didn't really create, you know, exact equal highs. It's close, so you know, we could still sort of call it liquidity, which is totally fine. But again, we did see a rejection from that zone, so just in case it was respecting the previous high, We did have a couple of supply areas in this region, I think. Yeah, so the supply area I was looking at was this wick, so this last buy to sell wick in here. So that obviously the start of the zone at the open of the wick and the close of the zone at the ultimate high over here. We saw price get into it, really strong rejection down. So again, in this imbalance fill, I want to see if price can come back in here, slow down, and we can get the distribution style sells to the downside. So definitely going to be having an alert, you know, around this area. That makes a lot of sense. This one as well we can delete as price is very far from there. But yeah, pretty much that sell from up the top over there looks pretty good. This demand zone here that we had, I think price got into that pretty nicely. You know, we can see price, it dipped into there, really strong rejections upwards, and we saw buying opportunities on Friday. Quite nice buying opportunities actually for Friday, which sort of carried on going higher and higher. You know, this was a very significant supply zone, created that next lower low, and the area that took that out would be this area. So definitely worth seeing. Is this demand going to hold? Is it going to hold price up? Is it going to, you know, keep it going and, you know, going higher and higher? If so, it might be worth an earlier entry, but of course we're just going to be looking to play you know, the reactions from our zones. Yeah, pretty much for GJ that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, let's leave it at that. I think, yeah, let's go through Nasdaq, especially seeing as how good Nasdaq was last week. Very successful pair, or not pair, sorry, successful indice for us last week. Yeah, let's have a fresh analysis on this, I think. So I'm going to delete the analysis from here onwards, and let's see what we've got. So for our first glance, I'm going to be looking at this demand zone in here. It just looks like a really good 4-hour sort of order block looking candle. We had it price coming deep into here, didn't quite reach it, but you know, potential liquidity build up below that wick. So definitely we want to see what happens in that area. And obviously this 4-hour buy to sell for Nasdaq in that area is a very strong drop off in price in that area as well. So definitely want to see what happens over there. Up in that area. Apart from that, in terms of higher time frame zones, can't see much else of interest. There are these lower demand zones in here, but price didn't quite get down to there. It reacted early into this one, which personally for me made a bit more sense. So definitely once price gets into this region, I won't be scared of, you know, taking some swing buys. I think this could be a really good opportunity for us to get you know, bullish on these indices again. So yeah, let's see. Obviously, as we can go into the lower time frames, we see price in a bit more detail. Yeah, at the moment it's in a bit of a limbo area. You know, it's the middle of this range. Not exactly sure where to sort of place any sells or buys from. At the moment, we'll be on the 30-minute time frame. At the moment, I'm seeing this area right in here for the sells. This looks pretty nice in there. You know, we had liquidity above these wicks. Buy to sell, created a lower low, very strong movement, very you know, just a redistribution style of movement right there, and prices just entered that region. So let's see, you know, obviously smaller time frames, 5 minute, 3 minute, 1 minute, we're going to have a look at this, and it's starting to slow down as it reaches the zone. You know, it's not as impulsive, it's looking a lot more flat, which is always a good sign. So let's see obviously how price can sort of hopefully distribute in this area. On the 1 minute, as we can see, it's very flat. It's not really breaking major order flow. For it to really break structure, I would love for it to come below this area here. Of course, this movement here was the minor breaker structure on the smaller time frame. Price came back up into this area and it's dropped off again. So definitely, you know, this wick here is very interesting. You know, this could be the wick to potentially play off of. Ideally, if price can continue down, challenge these lows in here and maybe close below this and then come back up for this zone, that would be even better. But of course, I'm not ruling it out just yet, because this is actually a good breaker structure below you know, this structural point, because this is the last point that created the higher high. So definitely interested in that area. I'm going to set an alert there as well. Probably set the alert at that wick, just so I know when liquidity is taken around that wick. And of course I've run out of alerts. Let's just use this one. Yeah, cool. Let's look into that area right there. Just be a bit more accurate. Yeah, so it's when price takes out that wick, we'll know liquidity above this is taken. Potentially it might just want to do an imbalance fill in there as well, so I'll extend the zone slightly, but yeah, definitely that zone, it looks pretty good. Yeah, looks ideal. And let's shorten this so you can see the price action a bit clearly. There you go, perfect. So yeah, that looks pretty good for Nasdaq. Of course, if we get the movements from there, then perfect, and this will be, you know, very large movements back down to the demand areas. There are some demand areas in here as well, I think. So let's see what takes this area out. So something within this is probably a nice area to take, you know, first set of partials if the sells come to fruition. So the first thing I'm seeing is this wick in here, and there's this wick as well. Whether obviously you count this as a mitigation, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, there's a couple different areas. Obviously, hopefully, if we can get a small stop loss entry, trading it down, you know, even just a rough sort of movement of about 70 points down just to this first potential TP, TP2, TP3, TP4, whatever, you know, however many TPs you need really. But yeah, that looks pretty good for now on Nasdaq. Let me just quickly check this chat box again if there's any other questions. Okay, all good, all good. Perfect. So what's next? Let's quickly check US30, I think, and that will bring us to a close, I feel. And then obviously we'll do question and answers for you guys afterwards as well. Let's quickly take a look. What time for a daily time frame? US30. Let's see exactly what happened in this region here. This is interesting right now because yeah, I was expecting rejections from this zone in here. We started to get rejections last week. Didn't really sort of hold. Price continued to go down. I think it's invalidated this zone actually because it's gone below it now. So I think this zone here, down here, I've been waiting for it for a long time now. It's been marked up for a while, so let's see, hopefully we can get price into this area for those swing style trades upwards for US30. That looks pretty good. And on the 4-hour supply, it's similar to Nasdaq. It's that same sort of candle that looks very similar. We'll look at that as well. And we are in this similar sort of, I think the indices are following very similar price action at the moment, in my opinion. You know, we had liquidity above these wicks, buy to sell in that redistribution style of movement, so it's definitely worth marking this on the chart as well. So that as the point of interest, and as we can see, price is in that zone already, so it's very similar to Nasdaq in my opinion, this one. US30 probably a bit more definitive, you know, it's broken structure a lot more obviously, you know, below this point, even below this point, and you know, it's challenging this rough area here, but you know, the structure breaks were good, you know, they were valid. Looking at the 5-minute time frame, we've got a nice block there, you know, 5-minute buy to sell candle. So let's see, obviously this could be the candle to sort of play off of in that area. There is a small imbalance in there as well, so it might look to come in and fill that in within there. So just going to clean up this analysis a bit more. Let's move this back here, and there we go, we can see the price action a lot clearer now, like so. So yeah, that looks pretty good for the sell side. Buy side, obviously we've got multiple points of interest. It's been very bullish, you know, the past whole week. But yeah, definitely for the start of the week, I'd definitely look to target US30 sells. You know, they look pretty good. Of course, the timing of entry is most important than anything else. You don't want to be entering a US30 trade in the middle of Asian session. It's just not going to move. Why can't I move this up here? Doesn't want it, but yeah, I'll sort that out later. So yeah, in terms of US30, I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, and to end the sort of thing, I'll go through the news quickly as well for the upcoming week. So obviously today is the 11th of September, and looking ahead of this week, there's a Chinese yuan bank holiday, so potentially, you know, some sort of Asian pairs may not be moving, so anything with JPY potentially. Aussie dollar, if you guys trade it, may not be moving as much, but I don't really trade those pairs too much, so sort of go accordingly. 7 AM GBP news, GDP, so big news to start the day on Monday for London Open, but sorry, it's before London Open. But I think the main ones I'm going to be looking to target, because obviously we look to trade New York Open, is going to be this US dollar news, CPI at 1:30 p.m. So I think that's around 9 a.m., 9:30 a.m. Eastern. But yeah, 1:30 p.m. UK time, CPI news comes out for the dollar. So expect some big moves around that, around then. PPI the following day for 1:30 as well. Obviously we'll be a live trading session for then anyway, so we'll be able to look at that. And then core retail sales for the following Thursday. So yeah, pretty much dollar news same time every day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday's a bit more chilled, I think, apart from 3 o'clock, but hopefully by 3 o'clock we've got our entries and in and at risk-free positions for that day. So yeah, obviously not as exciting as last week, I don't think. Last week we had a lot of interest rate decisions coming out, especially on the Thursday for the euro. They increased the rates to 1.25% from 0.5%, which was a very big increase in my opinion. So yeah, that's why we saw that craziness on Thursday last week. We had Canadian dollar interest rates coming out as well, and we had Aussie dollar cash rates coming out as well, so interest rates for that. So very heavy last week, but obviously this week is not as interesting, I'd say. We'll definitely still be able to catch some decent moves off these news releases as well, so it should be pretty good. But yeah, I think that will conclude the market analysis portion of today's call. So there we have the full breakdowns of the pairs and indices I'm looking at for this week. And again, if you're someone that wants to benefit from these sorts of calls along with the live trading calls before they're actually released on YouTube, then please do drop me a message on my Instagram saying mentorship, and we'll discuss things further. But with that being said, if you guys enjoyed this video and found value, then please do give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you guys so much for watching, I really do appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys in the next video for more of that trading sauce.